After winning the first ever two Mr. Olympia competitions held in 1965 and 1966, Larry Scott would never step on the Olympia stage again. And in the year 1967, we would have a new Mr. Olympia named in Sergio Oliva. I'm Krishan, and in this video, we take a deep dive into the life of the second Mr. Olympia, Sergio Oliva. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Sergio Oliva was born in Cuba and lived from 1941 to 2012. He passed away at the age of 71, may he rest in peace. Sergio competed at about 5'10", 225 pounds, and he won 3 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles from the year 1967 to 1969. After just 1 year of training, and I don't have a specific year, but he was still a teenager, he was able to clean and jerk 400 pounds. If you guys are unfamiliar with that movement, that's a movement for a lot of football players or a lot of strength athletes. So after word got around that Sergio was clean and jerking 400 pounds, he got invited to compete in the Pan American Games in Jamaica. Now, very interesting, during this event, he snuck out and actually ran to an American consulate. So a consulate helps foreigners get into the States, you know, and he actually ended up moving to America. After that, 65 other athletes also ran into the consulate, and they ended up coming to America. Sergio was working as a TV repairman in Miami. I thought that was notable to mention because a lot of people actually came over to the U.S. because of him, specifically 65 other people. Arnold Schwarzenegger actually said himself that when he first seen Sergio in person, he couldn't believe it. And standing next to him on stage, he said he knew he wasn't going to win. And that's crazy because, as we all know, Arnold is a very cocky individual, you know, always believes in himself. But he actually had very, very high praise for Sergio. He was like, this guy's mind-blowing. And you could pretty much see why he was called the Myth. But the very next year in 1970, Arnold would actually beat Sergio at the Mr. Olympia. Now, here's when we get into a bit of politics, because Sergio was actually banned from competing at the 1971 Mr. Olympia for competing in the NABA Mr. Universe. Now, this was arguable because Arnold also competed in the NABA Mr. Universe, but he wasn't disqualified and he was still able to compete. However, Sergio did come back in the year 1972. A lot of people say this was his best version, and he lost to Arnold again. Once again, a lot of politics going on behind this, and any of my bodybuilding experts, let me know in the comment section below what was going on during this time period. You know, what did Joe Weider have against Sergio Oliva? And to this day, Sergio is still considered to be one of the most genetically gifted athletes of all time. And here's a shot of him on stage with Arnold Schwarzenegger as well as Serge Nubret. All incredible physiques. And I always wonder how would these guys look if they were to compete in our era, you know, even to the 90s or the 2000s. More modern technology, these guys would have insane physiques. Now, Sergio did make a comeback to the stage in 1984. I'm not going to go too deep into this because I've done a whole video on it. I will link it at the end. But Sergio would place 8th in this competition, and the crowd went crazy with boos. Very, very good speech. But Sergio actually brought out his son, Sergio Jr., and said this is potentially the next Myth. One of the most iconic moments in bodybuilding history, in my personal opinion. And once again, if you guys haven't seen that video, definitely check it out. It will be linked at the end. But of course, we have to mention his son, Sergio Jr. Incredible bodybuilder, and honestly, I believe Sergio has a hard time with his career just trying to live up to people's expectations of him being the son of a former Mr. Olympia. Now, Sergio Oliva did serve 25 years as a police officer in Chicago. I said serve like he went to jail, and I thought it was interesting that in 1986, he survived being shot 5 times in the stomach by his wife at the time. So also notable things to mention, he won the 1966 Mr. World, 1966 Mr. Universe, and the Mr. Universe in 1967. He went over to the WBGG League and won the Mr. Olympus from 1975 to 1978, making it 3 consecutive titles. Sergio is definitely one of the greatest bodybuilders our sport has ever seen. The second Mr. Olympia, also known as the Myth. And there weren't too many back shots I could find of Sergio Oliva, but here's one I could find. And in all honesty, Sergio is probably also one of the most complete Mr. Olympia champions. You know, I always mention Phil Heath, but never really Sergio Oliva. He wasn't missing anything, and of course, he just didn't have the modern day conditioning. But incredible. Look at the delts, the arms, the forearms. This guy even had calves, which is something that seems to be missing in modern bodybuilding today. But Sergio, definitely one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. In a lot of people's eyes, he is the greatest, you know. Arnold had very high praise for him, and the type of person that Arnold is, if you get praise from Arnold, you're probably a pretty good person, man. We all know how Arnold can be at times. But as always, I hope you guys did indeed enjoy this video. I hope you learned something today. I'm Krishan from Go Fitness. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's it. I'm out.